Welcome to the second part of multiple time frame analysis series. In this particular video, we'll be learning how to read charts based on multiple time frames. And last week we selected Adani Ports based on the techniques I had mentioned in the first part. Please watch that video also. The link is in the eye icon here. You can just click it and watch it. So in this particular video, the first thing I like to address is how I shortlist the stock. That is how I create my watch list. See, the thing is, I personally don't believe in using screeners that much. I'm an old school trader. I like manually going through charts, but I just have some basic filters that you guys can follow and then try and shortlist stocks further. So my list of stocks is only limited to the top 180 stocks that is defined in the FNO list by NSE Exchange. So this becomes my step one. In the second step, I then shortlist those stocks that have the highest average volumes over the last 20 sessions. So this is a number I use. You can use 40 trading sessions also. Just be consistent with what you select. So by the time I reach step 3, I already have something about 15 to 20 stocks that I then analyze further. And for each of these stocks, I then look at price structure. I look at multiple time frames and then simple support and resistance analysis that I've been teaching you over the last 3 to 4 videos. So these are the key steps that I follow. And based on these steps, last week I selected Adani Ports. And this week I have selected TCS. So let me just walk you through entire steps that I've looked into while analyzing TCS and the importance of using multiple time frame charts.
Click on the subscribe button and bell icon to get instantly notified when a new video is uploaded. Thank you for subscribing.
So in the last video, the first step that we discussed was to go down to a monthly time frame chart, and this is where we analyze overall patterns. And specifically, we look for some volatility contraction that is going on in price. So this is a chart of TCS, again on a monthly time frame chart. Just come down to the candle here in the month of October. So take a look at this particular range here. This is somewhere close to 2900 and this is somewhere close to 2480. So for the last 2 months, TCS is now trading between the range of 2900 and 2480. And in the current market cycle, you can clearly see that it is high beta stocks that are in favor and are performing well. And most of the technology stocks and the pharma stocks are taking some sort of backseat now. So as a trader, as an investor, I always like to focus in those sectors where there is less focus in terms of positions build up. And that is why currently I am looking at something like TCS, other IT names, pharma names that are exhibiting these kind of patterns for trying to trade these over the next 3 to 4 months. So Adani Ports that we selected last month was valid for something like short term and something like swing trade. But when it comes to TCS, this only qualifies for swing trade because of the fact that in the current cycle, high beta is performing well and it can take some more time for price to consolidate and then start moving higher. So there are some key things that I like in TCS on a higher time frame chart. The first thing being that trend is clearly on the upside. So I'll just remark trend is up. This is point 1 that I take note of. The second point that I want to look forward to is that this particular wick here between 2620 and 2900, this is a strong resistance level on a monthly time frame chart. Why it is a monthly resistance level? Because price at some point of time rallied higher. It faced strong rejection here and then it closed at this particular level. So why do I consider this a positive sign? The main thing being that if you look at this particular candle, the closing happened at this level. Now this is somewhere close to 2640. For the last 2 months, if you see, the entire price action activity is happening near the closing level of this wide range candle. So it just tells you that every time price is trying to move lower, there are these strong buyers who step in and then price moves higher. Yes, you can also spot some long wicks here which represents supply, but we already know that this region is a region of supply because of the long wick present here. For the time being, I'm only interested in the demand that is visible at lower level because that is what will help me trying to trade this particular stock from something like 2600 to at least something like 2900, which was the top end range of the resistance region. So the third important point that I would note is that there is some sort of demand visible at higher levels. So for those of you who are channel members, please note that gap trading part 1 and pullback trading part 6 will be coming out. Please keep your notifications on and please be active in the community section. Now this is the link. This is where I explain a lot of things about the stocks I'm tracking and the sectors I'm tracking. And for those of you who are not channel members, you can just join channel membership for 1 month and watch all 30 videos on price and volume analysis series. So let us now come to step number 2, where we go down to daily time frame chart to analyze price action and volume activity. So this was again a part of framework that we discussed in last week's video where we selected Adani Ports. So when it comes to TCS on a daily time frame chart, again, for those of you who have watched my pullback trading series, you would be now knowing in detail why we have started tracking TCS with respect to the pullback structure. The first thing I like to see on daily time frame in this particular stock of TCS is that if you look at the range of these candles on daily time frame, when price was moving lower from 2900 to something like 2700 right up to this point, look at the range of these candles. These are clearly wide range candles. And this clearly tells you that sellers were strong as price was moving lower. So if you take a look at recent price action after this low point was formed, in this particular range, if you see, there are hardly any strong sellers that are visible. In fact, I can see some long tail candles here that definitely tells you that there is some strong demand setting in between 2550, 2650. But on the downside, this is one wide range candle. Some bit of volume expansion is also visible. But beyond that, I cannot spot any strong bearish candles on the downside. So this tells me that there is a clear transition that has happened from sellers being strong to now sellers being relatively weak. So this particular transition is important because this tells you that there is a shift happening and demand is beginning to overpower supply. And this will be especially valid till the point 2600, 2580 is in place. So the third step based on what we discussed last week was to go down on something like a lower time frame chart. We selected 30-minute time frame where we analyze further price action activity. We look at price patterns and we also look at volume activity. So on Wednesday, I released one video where I explained one pattern based on some sort of retracement analysis that we do. So take a look at the dip here and then take a look at a dip here. So this is again a variation of cup and handle pattern. Some also call it ascending triangle. That is completely fine. Don't stick to textbook definitions. Just try and understand what is going on here, because textbook definitions are relatively very difficult to implement when it comes to real-time trading and you'll simply get confused. So if you look at the larger pattern that TCS is forming on a 30-minute time frame chart, you have a much deeper retracement here. And then you have a shallow retracement here, which in turn clearly tells you that there is strong demand developing, and that is why price is not able to move down lower. And now you're seeing some sort of activity happening above this particular range here, and price is now again pulling back into this range. See, the thing is, when price was attempting to move higher, even in this region, when price was moving higher, there has been clear volume expansion. So this is again a very positive sign for me. Price is again trying to move above 2731, 2740. And I feel if TCS can go past something like 2750, 2760 thereabouts, then it would be in very good position to go to something like 2900 or even something like 3000 level. So it just depends on how we see a breakout here. Of course, price can fall back. It's completely fine. It happens in trading. But if we get a strong breakout with volumes, that is the important keyword here. You have to look for volume activity when price eventually breaks out. And then I think these levels will show up in TCS. So in detail, I have explained this video in Wednesday's video. And this is the video here. Please do watch it. Your understanding about variations of cup and handle will improve a great deal. So this again is 30-minute time frame chart. And what I've done is I've just zoomed in the recent price action activity to explain a few things. See, initially TCS was in a range of 2740 on the upside and somewhere around 2670 on the downside. So the range was clearly marked out, 2670 and 2740. What has happened in recent times is that price has attempted to move higher. This was a session where price gapped up, but again we saw strong selling on the downside. Why this is relevant here is because if you look at the range of this candle, this range is between 2770 and 2730. This is again very close to the previous breakout region. So this was resistance region earlier, and after the breakout, this has now become a valid support region. Yes, price has retraced back a bit, but I think TCS is in a strong structure. We should again see price moving above this particular level, that is 2740 previous breakout level. But for me, in the very short term, this range is actually very important. This is again a key price volume analysis concept. Such candles do pose stiff resistance for price. And that is why in the previous slide I mentioned that if price can go past something like 2760 with strong volumes, then I think further up move in TCS will continue with momentum. So for the time being, we are seeing some retracement. This candle had volume expansion. Even set of these 4-5 candles, you can see volume has picked up. In fact, when price is retracing back, volume is bit on a lower side. I would have preferred more volumes. So there is some uncertainty here in the short term, but based on the monthly time frame analysis we have done and the daily time frame analysis we have done, I think odds are pretty good for TCS to maybe consolidate a bit more and then move above something like 2770 and go towards 3000. So before we move forward, an important announcement. These are the only 2 channels that are associated with our YouTube channel. Please be aware of all the fake Telegram channels that are using name very similar to ours, and please check the spelling before joining the Telegram channel. So in the last video on multiple time frame analysis, I did tell you that there are 3 main time frames we refer to. This is monthly time frame, then daily time frame, and then we look at 30-minute time frame to fine tune entry and exit and conduct further price volume analysis. Now, a lot of you asked me why we cannot look at something like weekly time frame chart. Yes, you certainly can do, and at times I also look at weekly time frame just to get further idea about price action. In terms of TCS, if you see, this was a candle that gapped up, and this entire region here, this is a region of gap. So gap is essentially a strong support in terms of overall price action activity. Again, I've covered this concept in price volume analysis series for those of you who have seen it. And above this gap region, take a look at what price is doing. So we have a long tail here. I'll just remove these 2 lines. Again, one long tail, again, couple of long tails here. And even this week's candle is forming one long tail. And all this price activity is happening above this gap region. So while price is simply consolidating in a broad range, what is essentially happening is that whenever price is moving lower, it is encountering some strong demand at lower levels. And that is why it keeps auctioning back up on the upside. And for reference, this is the main candle here within which entire price action activity is playing out. Given how IT sector is positioned, I won't be surprised to see something like 2900 first and then level of 3000 and beyond on TCS. Again, this will play out over the next few months, and that is why I have shortlisted this stock from swing trading point of view. You can even consider this from positional trading point of view. It won't qualify from short-term trading point of view because even in the short term, you can see some supply at higher levels. So the last thing that I'll check in TCS is its overall relative strength. That is price of TCS divided by price of Nifty. So this is the line that represents this ratio. It is also called relative strength or ratio chart. So on weekly time frame, trend is clearly up. Since you are shortlisting this stock for something like swing trading, you will have it on your watch list for the next 1 to 3 months, that is. And therefore, I like to see over the last few months what has been the outperformance in terms of relative strength. So line has clearly moved up, and this clearly tells you that stock on broader term basis is outperforming index like Nifty. If you also want to look at specific relative strength pattern, this is the consolidation region of relative strength. Yes, even consolidation, normal price trends, these sort of concepts work well on relative strength also. And now relative strength is again approaching this consolidation region here. So this is actually a good place where relative strength line will sort of consolidate and again move higher. So this would mean that stock from the next 2 to 3 month point of view will again outperform Nifty. For those of you who are regular on this channel, I hope you remember in month of September, I did a video here about TCS taking into account the strong relative strength line and why IT sector in particular was something you should look into, and prices moved very swiftly from that particular video where I mentioned and discussed overall structure of TCS on a long-term basis. So again, I feel in terms of relative strength, TCS is approaching a good zone, and from here, stock should perform well. Please check out the entire framework that we have discussed in the first part of multiple time frame analysis series. The video is linked up here. Click on the I icon and you'll certainly improve your overall understanding of how to read charts with multiple time frame analysis. So please keep your notifications on because one more video will be coming out either on Wednesday or Thursday. So thanks a lot for watching this video, guys. Kindly consider hitting the like button if you find the content useful. Take care and be safe.